Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your host, Jeff. Today we're without Steve, but we do have our new sponsored athlete, Dylan Banks. Dylan, it's AussieFifa as your handle. Dylan, I have been a gamer since way back. I love video games. I actually created a video game company. It's not an unusual stretch for ATP Science to actually be working with gamers. You're the embodiment of both gaming but also fitness and health. You've got an amazing journey. You're a professional eSports player now, which obviously some hard decisions that you've had to make along the way. You're an intelligent guy. You've gone to university, but you've actually stopped pursuing that career to focus on eSports gaming. Mate, tell me, where did all of this begin?
It's a long story, but only a child. So, grew up in Toowoomba, which is a town around an hour and a half away from Brisbane, which is where we're at now. And being an only child, my way of keeping myself occupied, didn't have any siblings or anything like that, was to play games. I think I was only about 7 years old, and my auntie's friend had an Xbox, an old Xbox, the original Xbox, the first one. And he didn't use it, and I think my mum paid like $50 for it or something from me, and said, we'll just give it to Dylan, he can play with it. I from there started playing games. It wasn't so much FIFA that I was playing. It was, I think a racing car game back then, very simple ones at least for the first Xbox. But ever since, I had been into gaming. It wasn't my only passion, of course. I've had many different passions, but gaming was my number one thing. And then I think I was 10 years old, and my uncle, actually, he was right into soccer or football, wherever whatever you like to call it.
Yeah, in Australia, I think we kind of have to call it soccer, because there's rugby union, there's rugby league, there's AFL.
You say football over here, the people think you're saying rugby league.
Yeah, that's right. It depends which part of the country, and you say football down in Melbourne, and they think it's AFL, right?
That's it. Yeah. But if you're speaking to an international, you'll get roasted.
Oh, yeah. Because soccer is like, I don't know. I mean, it is, though, technically soccer. It really is soccer, right? I mean, it is,
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah. I'll just call it soccer. We're in Australia, let's call it soccer.
Well, put it this way. You know what? I say football now because I understand. I mean, I grew up playing rugby union my whole life, but converted into, and this is how this whole collaboration happened, is because my son, I played rugby union in New Zealand, played at a representative level as a junior, played rugby all through my schooling, and never ever, and in New Zealand, soccer, as they called it, was for sissies. That's what they used to say. Well, funnily enough, I mean, I played, 32 years of rugby. I played 3 years of football. I had a concussion playing rugby for all that time and playing lots of games, where I've separated my right shoulder. I had osteopubis for a season, and I also needed surgery on my left knee, all from playing 3 seasons of football. So it is not for sissies. But anyway, the whole aspect of you getting into gaming and all the rest of it, and we can talk about some of the other passions as well too, is when you're about 7. It seems to be a sort of a pivotal time, and I can imagine a lot of mums and dads listening to this podcast are going, my son, my daughter.
I'm sure this is going to reflect most stories these days, I think, with kids, because they all start to get into that gaming space.
They love it. My boy does too. So,
absolutely. At the age of 5, 6, 7, even younger.
So how old are you now, Dylan?
23.
23. I was right. Because we were saying off air, this is like my son, who's 7, who watches you, and my other son, who's 13, who also watches you as well too for the tips and tricks. Mind you, we can't, I'm not very good at it. My son's, probably... He learns better, right? Because when they're younger, you can sort of adapt faster. There's that old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But and that's what I was saying. I thought you were about that sort of age. So in terms then of playing video games, how did your parents feel about that growing up?
Well, I remember Mum always used to have a rule, and it was you can play the game on the weekends.
Right.
Through the week, you cannot.
Yep, we're the same.
Yep. On the weekends you can.
Yeah.
But then Having said that, I remember, I used to be very excited to play the game. I used to be very excited to get on the eSports and play on the weekend. But after about 2 or 3 hours, I used to get sick of it. And then I used to go and, do something else. Like I remember when I was younger, I was into making bow and arrows.
Yeah, right.
And I used to watch these YouTube videos about oiling the wood and making sure you have the, and I was only about 10, I think.
Yeah.
And, I think I made one that was that good that it shot like over 100 meters.
Wow.
Just out of the backyard, out of this random tree that I was in the backyard.
How big was your backyard?
It was only about 50 meters.
Ooh.
So I tried this thing and it went all the way over the fence. And, I was...
Where did it land?
Yeah, well, in the backyard of someone's home. And,
lucky that poodle's not like walking around, minding his own business.
It was a blunt.
Sniffing a flower.
Well, that's right.
Thwack.
Lucky there was no cats or anything, or even a human walking by. But
humans would be fine. Our listeners are more concerned about animals than humans, whatever. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's pretty fortunate, right?
Yes.
But okay, so you were mucking around as a kid.
Yes, I always used to do all these kind of things, climbing trees. I still had that childhood, where you were outside a lot.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I was always into something outside. But
so for parents that are listening to this as well too, again, fast forward now, you're an eSport gamer.
Yes.
You're an intelligent guy because you went to university as well too, and we'll talk more about the degree that you were studying. Did you complete your degree?
I did.
You did?
I just graduated. I finished the degree last year, but I just graduated about a month ago because...
Political science?
Criminology and Political Science,
okay,
yes.
Cool. So and to do a career as I laughed when we first met, that you were going to become like 007, you were going to be an ASIO spy, you were going to work for Mossad or something like that. No?
Well,
intelligence officer?
Yes, I was interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Basically...
I mean, you're making your own bow and arrows, you've got your own weapons happening. I mean, like, it's not a stretch, right?
I don't know what it was. What was it? I just liked the thought that I knew things that people didn't know for some reason. Okay. I was interested in knowing information that people didn't know.
Yeah, right. Well, that's interesting because, I mean, realistically, that's an extrapolation of what you do now. You're teaching and again, there's so much to unpack. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're a huge FIFA tragic and fan like myself and you really want to get into it.
Even eSports in general.
Because I am as well too, though. But we're going to do a little bonus segment which we're going to attach somewhere as well too, Matt. I'm not sure where. You can let people know. But I want to do like a 10-15 minute deep dive question into FIFA with some questions I've got. But we won't do that as part of this because there's a lot of people that just want the sort of the understanding of an eSports sort of an athlete. So, sorry, you were saying?
That was basically my interest in trying to get into sort of the intelligence side of thing. But reverting back to what I was saying in terms of how I actually got into FIFA, that was, I was about 10 years old, I think. My uncle's into soccer, football. And he had bought the newest FIFA version, which was FIFA 07 back then. And that was on the eSports still. And I remember going around playing this game, like, oh my God, this is insane. I love it. This is awesome. I actually really loved playing the game. And I remember even the cover of it was like Ronaldinho on the front of FIFA 07. And I think, honestly, it was one of my favourite.
He had the Barcelona shirts on, right?
Yes.
Yes, I think I remember seeing the cover. I've gone through and actually watched all of the iterations since it first came out to now, like where the graphics started to where they are today. Oh my gosh, the difference is night and day. In fact, I've got some quizzes for you in a minute. I'll pop a bit later on and see how, because I mean, as I said, well, the team are going, we're putting these questions together. They go, Dylan's not going to know that. I'm like, he's a professional. Of course he knows these things. Sorry, mate. Keep going anyway. So that was your initial
FIFA was FIFA 07. Funnily enough, it wasn't until FIFA 15 until I actually played the game again.
Right.
I had FIFA 07, played it at my uncle's place, and then after that, I might have played it here and there every now and then. He would always get the new game, so I would always go over for a game or two as it released.
How old's your uncle?
He's like, I don't want to say an age that's too... I think he's like 33.
Oh, so he's still a young guy. Yeah.
Still pretty young. 35, something like that.
Yeah.
I would always go over and play, a game or two. He'd get the new game and I'd go and play a game or two. I never really had it myself.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to FIFA 15.
Yeah.
My mate, Jed Hocken, who actually is he does a heap of trick shots. He's quite famous online. He's got like 400,000 followers.
Trick shots for football?
Yes, for football, for soccer, yes.
Okay, wow.
Yes, so he does a heap of trick shots on Instagram and TikTok. We went to school together, and I remember it was in high school, in woodwork, and we did a lot of things we probably shouldn't have done, but we started talking about, FIFA, and I'm like, oh yeah, you play FIFA. I played a few games throughout, my life, and he started talking about Ultimate Team. I'm like, what's this Ultimate Team? Like, sounds interesting. So I decided to download it on my phone, and you can actually get FIFA Mobile, I think it's called, which is the FIFA Ultimate Team version for your mobile that EA Sports released on the App Store.
Right.
And I remember playing it, and I'm loving the concept. Like, you could get cards, any card you wanted. And a card is basically a FIFA card. So a professional footballer, if you're a professional footballer in the real world, you have your own FIFA card.
Yeah.
EA Sports put it into Ultimate Team. And depending on how good you are is how good your stats are on that card.
Right.
And depending on how good the card is, will depend on how hard it is to pack it out of a pack.
Yes.
That you pay for. If you want to, on an open patch, you pay to open these packs. So
It's kind of a little bit like, for people who aren't familiar with this, the old baseball cards in the States
100%.
that they've got, and some are really rare, right?
Yeah.
Like they're worth millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
Because there might only be a handful that they do, right? So it's a collective thing. The difference is in FIFA is that you can collect these cards, put them into a team, and then use those players.
And play
And you
people.
can buy them and you sell and trade them.
Yep.
It's kind of got its own little cool
That's it.
Economy.
It is a niche, and obviously, I think it was a great business sense from EA Sports to do this because,
brilliant.
People would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on these baseball cards that you're talking about, and they put it into a game. And now look at eSports now.
Well, it's digital, so they don't even have to print it. You don't have to ship it. It's a digital bit download, and people are buying these things.
And it is amazing how much people will spend to get these cards. And the thing is, you look at the new trend coming out with your NFTs, with your
non-fungible tokens. Yep.
Facebook Meta.
Yeah.
It's look where the world's going. It's all digital.
And the funny thing is, I remember Apple CEO.
Not Mark Wahlberg.
We're talking about him before.
Mark Zuckerberg. No, that's
Jobs.
Facebook.
Steve Jobs. He said, and I remember watching an interview with him in the 1980s, going, now we have digital natives. He goes, the people that are growing up in the 80s effectively have never known a world without computers. And that was back then. So, Dylan, you were born in 98. So, and again, it's funny. I remember when the Xbox came out. I remember when PlayStation came out, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't remember these things. And that, the immersion level, I guess, of children now on iPad, iPhones, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, whatever it is so ingrained into our culture. For some parents, it's a babysitter. For some children, it's a reward, and everything in between, right? And I'm not saying that it's good or bad. I am so passionate about video.
Some reflect on that as being negative.
Oh, for sure. And look, like anything, right?
Yeah.
You can say that of anything. You can say that of food. You can say that of gym. You can say that. When anything becomes obsessive and you take it too far, diet. Anorexia versus, whatever. Things can be. Nothing in itself is bad per se. Like in this, it's just how it's used and the level of, I guess, responsibility, oversight, So it doesn't sound like if your mum, I should say, was putting governors on you in terms of, okay, only allowed to play on the weekend, that it doesn't sound like you were crazy overboard in terms of playing too much, right?
No. I wasn't. And I still am not now. I'm a pro player, technically, and, I'm not I'm playing maybe 2-3 hours a day.
Okay. Do you play any other games?
No.
None. So you just exclusively
FIFA.
Yep. And is that for a time reason? Is that because you don't want to pollute your thinking with other movements? What is that?
Obviously, with what I'm doing now, trying to compete, also running my own coaching business and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, everything, right? It takes its toll, so I don't have the time to play other games.
Yep.
Having said that, if I get another game, I play it for an hour and get sick of it.
Yeah.
And I've always been like that, except for FIFA.
Yeah, right.
And that's what really has got me wondering, why am I so attached to this game? Because, as I said, I played it. I started on the mobile, played this Ultimate Team with these, these cards that you can pack and you can build a squad and play other people. Then I decided to, let's get it on the PlayStation, because at the time I think I had a PS3.
Yeah.
And FIFA 15 was out. I discovered that this Ultimate Team was on the console, so I'm like, hell yeah, let me get this thing and try it out. And I was hooked. Yeah, right. Absolutely hooked. One thing led to another. FIFA 15, I played that game. I was very bad at the game. I remember, definitely getting angry. Like, I couldn't stop myself. Like, if you lost, you get angry and years have gone on. Obviously, I can control myself now, and it's good. And you need to, especially at a high level in eSports, you need to have a good mentality, because that's one of the most important things. And I've always said that. Over skill level.
Okay, my son and I, we play together because we've got Xboxes set up on a lounge upstairs, little lounge upstairs, and we've got 2 sets of TV side by side, and we play Xbox together. And he actually likes career mode. He plays career mode, so I'm sort of playing my game while we're doing it. Yeah. You can even. So this was I said to you the other day. For people that can't see, I'm holding it. I've actually got a callus on my thumb, right? I can't believe Dylan doesn't, right? So obviously I'd smash you in a game if I played you, but
Probably.
We're actually going to have a challenge to the death.
Okay.
We're going to play. But you're only allowed to have bronze cards.
Okay.
You'd still beat me. But I think what's really funny is that my son, it's actually a really good opportunity. Now, he's not allowed to play unless his room's tidied. He's allowed set hours to be able to play the game. He loses it sometimes. I mean, I watch these kids on TV sometimes. There's that German guy that smashes the monitor playing World of Warcraft, which actually I was a GM in World of Warcraft back in the day. I was actually playing up until last year. I was playing World of Warcraft because I absolutely freaking love it, right? Like, as I said, I'm a real tragic. Hey, but so's Captain Picard, who's married to Ashton Kutcher. What's her name? There's a lot of famous actors and other people that actually play video games, and I guess because that's
Snoop Dogg just got signed by FaZe.
Really?
eSport team. Yeah.
Wow. Is he good?
Snoop Dogg.
Is he good?
I don't know. He's more of a content creator / gamer for them.
Right.
But I think he is actually good. I saw a clip of him on COD, and he was definitely doing better than what I could.
Wow. So, I mean, it comes down to what you're passionate about, right? So my son would sit there. Now, he's actually, as we speak down the coast, he's playing in the Queensland State Championships. Yep. He's a good athlete. But, man, I tell you what, the resilience. He's just sitting there. I'm just saying, mate, seriously, you need to pause and walk away, right? Because it's like, blah, and he's playing against the AI. Like, he's not even playing against another player. And it's funny because I watch some of these guys as well, too. But there are character developing opportunities there if governed the right way. I mean, left unchecked, you've got kids smashing monitors and breaking joysticks, and that's bad. I mean, if your kid's doing that or if you're doing that, you really need to evaluate and going, what is my internal life looking like? But there is opportunities to be able to calm yourself down. Now, I take that in real sport. I mean, playing football as well too, and doing these things. And also, now you as a professional gamer, now you've travelled overseas. Not
overseas. I've played in the national tournaments leagues here in Australia.
So you've played at a high level. You've played in tournaments. For notoriety. Obviously, it's now your game. Being able to control your emotions, whether it be on the real football pitch or whether it be on the virtual football pitch, is the same thing, right?
Yes.
It's he who keeps their cool wins.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's...
Or plays at least their best game.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's it goes in any sport, like you were saying, not just eSports, soccer, football, whatever it is. Mentality's key. And that's something I've really had to work on. And I would say only for the last 2 to 3 years, I would say from FIFA 19, my mentality has been something that I've been really starting to get a hold of and not sort of get so angry at the game.
Yeah.
Because as I was saying, went from FIFA 15 then to FIFA 16, starting to get a little bit better, but I wasn't there. You know, I wasn't at the high level.
Yeah.
And then FIFA 17 came by. And at this stage, I was, above average, but I wasn't pro, let's say.
Yeah.
But at the time, EA Sports was wanting to dabble into eSports because there was no actual eSport with the game.
Yeah.
They had, I think, the FIFA eWorld Cup, which incorporated kickoff for many years, but there was no eSport involved with Ultimate Team.
Right.
And that's when it really kicked off because of how popular Ultimate Team was. People got hooked to the game. They then started making it competitive, and then all of a sudden, everyone gets hooked on this eSport thing with EA Sports and Ultimate Team, and it starts to become quite large, quite big, right? And that was in FIFA 17.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the EA Sports live broadcasts on TV and Twitch, and just think, you know what, I want to
do that.
I want to do that.
So for people who don't know FIFA, Ultimate Team is where you can actually use players from all over the world playing in different leagues, different countries. You have to make them fit, so there must be commonality in terms of with chemistry. So if they've got bad chemistry, it actually negatively affects their stats. And I'm not going to bore people who aren't interested in FIFA and are listening to this because they want to understand gaming and potentially how you become a professional gamer and what that means for their kids and what that means for them, because it's fascinating, just your story. But it's a really cool management and addictive side of the game. There are websites. I mean, there's even a guy called the Foot Accountant that goes through and talks about trading, buying your cards and trading them. He actually treats it like a stock market. I've never seen him play a game, but he's buying and selling and trading cards, right?
Basically,
which is kind of like stamp collecting, but it's for virtual dollars, right? Yeah. I don't know. I think he gets 30,000, 40,000 views for podcasts as well too, right?
Yeah.
It is such a huge economy, and YouTube obviously. That many eyeballs means that people are going to be watching, and I guess that's what I want to transition to now as well too, is that. So you're at university. Mum's very proud.
Yes.
You've completed it. You're looking at a career, and you go, "Hey, Mum, how did that conversation go?"
She was skeptical, to say the least.
Sure.
I would say, and she's always supported me through what I've done. But I think that generation is, they're interested, but they're also skeptical of what it can actually do for me in the long run.
Sure.
Also, is there a long-term plan, things like that. I would say I've gotten to the point where I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone thinks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of critics that think, you're stupid for doing this because... and that's normal. Like, people like comfort. People like to have, a future ahead of them that they know will obviously be guaranteed. But
have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
No.
You pretty much were quoting exactly what he says in his book.
Yeah.
And without risk, there is really no reward. I mean, and
Exactly.
what is safe?
What
I mean, you can be fired. You could be working for a company and what have you.
Yeah.
It's funny because we're having the same conversation with a friend of ours whose son is going through. By the way, roughly how old's your mum, if you don't mind me asking?
She is 42.
She's younger than me.
Yes, she had me when she was 19.
Oh my gosh. So you could be my son. Here you go.
We always make the joke that we'll end up in the same old home.
Yeah, that's cute, man. That's cool. But the thing is, right, is that even your mum's younger than me, right? And I get it. But I think this is one of the things as well too. The world pays for artisanry. So in other words, expertism. If you're an expert in something, then you can make a living from it. And if you're passionate about it, that's because those are the things that carry you through. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Nothing in life that is worthwhile is ever easy. You've got to put effort. You've got to put study. An entrepreneur in French means risk taker, which means that you have to risk something to achieve it. Now, that could be reputation. That could be money. That could be time. That could be relationships. And this is, if you say up there, high level agreement, deep level alignment. This is sort of this is funny. This is our business coaches that we're talking to. Alignment in terms of what you're doing, alignment with external factors, but most importantly is alignment with yourself. In other words, I want to do this. Now, you never fail, you only learn.
Mm-hmm.
So when people go, oh, you're going to fail, it's like, no, I just learned that didn't work, or I learned that isn't what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the worst thing in doing is working a job that you're not enjoying, that you're not passionate about, where you've got an itch. Now, if you're happy in your work, great.
Yep.
You're blessed because you're probably only a small. But if you've got an entrepreneurial desire to do something and it's in there, then go for it, because
100%.
you're going to learn a crap ton. You know, it's not like you can't go back to, well, you've finished uni. It's not like you can't utilize that skill set later on if this doesn't work out, to go, you know what, I gave that a try, I'm going to go do this. I hate the linear thinking. I hate the, you know, you have to do, this is the way that life has to be done, you know? So anyway.
Absolutely. And, you know, after finishing uni, I did have a job offer up in Townsville, because I studied in Townsville. Studied in Townsville for about 4.5 years, and that was obviously, it's a 3-year degree, but I had to do it over 4.5 because I had to support myself and work full time.
Where'd you work?
Sorry?
Which company?
Well, it's funny, because the first year or so I was very tight on money, because I was on $200 a week.
Wow.
Yep.
So massive share house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And, you know, rent was at $120.
Yeah.
And then $80 to support myself for the rest.
Holy cow.
So it was tough.
I did something similar. I lived on 2-minute noodles.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is when I had no idea about fitness or health, by the way.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
And I think they're one of the worst foods you can have.
Oh, totally. Terrible. Yeah.
But I got a job managing the cricket, and that was what the $200 a day was. So
managing the cricket?
Cricket. The local cricket. Yes.
Oh, so how much did you get paid?
$200.
For a day's work?
For 2 or 3 days' work.
Wow. That's pretty good for a young guy.
Not bad, yeah. I had to umpire and through the day, and basically just manage it, manage all the other umpires and stuff. No support from the government, no Centrelink or anything like that, because I was still classed as dependent, even though I was 16 hours away from home.
Wow.
Which was, I don't know.
Crazy.
Anyway, no comment. But then I ended up getting a job with Barbecues Galore.
Okay.
And they were awesome. The people who owned that, they were always supportive of me. The best thing about it was every Saturday we did a big smoke up, which you would, you know, you put sausages and ribs and brisket into this smoker, and it would go through the car park.
Yeah.
And then everyone would flock.
I bet.
And
what a good marketing technique that
absolutely.
is. And Dylan used to load up, didn't you?
I used to load up chicken wings, pork belly, brisket, all of the American style smoked meats. Good bulking season there.
Yeah.
Good bulking for there.
Because obviously you're into your gym, and we'll get to that in a minute as well too, right?
Yes, absolutely. But I worked there for 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
Okay, which was good. Money was not a problem then, because it was good pay with Barbecues Galore. They looked after me. I even remember when COVID hit, they said, look, if you're tight, come over for dinner every night. That's fine. They were awesome.
Jeez.
Raj and Andrew, if you're listening.
Yeah, whereabouts are they based?
In Townsville.
Townsville.
Yes. They're lovely people.
Yeah.
They supported me.
If you need a barbecue and you live in Townsville, go get one from them.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, my degree, Criminology and Politics.
Yeah.
Always had been interested in, criminals and how they, why they commit crime. Are they born? Are they, influenced to commit crime?
Nature, nurture. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also the political side as well, because I was interested in the, the intelligence side of stuff.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
Well, I love you, Bert, if you're listening, by the way. Yeah. He's our local member. Actually, and Darren Powell.
Yeah.
His son.
Yeah.
Is Lachlan Powell, who's one of the biggest gamers on YouTube.
Really?
He lives in Japan.
Wow.
I looked up his net worth the other day. Don't quote me.
Yep.
$20 million a year he makes.
Holy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So his son, his father, is the counsellor for this area.
Yep.
Right. That's Darren Powell. He's a good guy. He actually trained at the same gym as me back in the day.
Yep.
So anyway, sorry, keep going. Yeah.
And I was into all of that sort of thing. And then I was working at Barbecues Galore, but a job opportunity come up. And that was with parole.
Right.
Probation and parole.
Yep.
I was in my final year of uni. An ad come up through my emails that there was an offer going for a job that for anyone who was still in uni and had their last year, you could apply. As sort of an intern, but I was still getting paid the same as someone working there. And I applied. I think there was something, there's like 30 to 40 to 50 applicants, and I got it. And I was a bit shocked because I didn't expect myself to get it with that many people. That was an eye-opener. That was a big eye-opener. I worked there for 9 months. The people you're dealing with are not the people you want to deal with. They are the bottom feeders of society. They are not people you want to be dealing with. And there was, I can't really, I can talk about stories, but a lot went on, and it just, what I liked about the job was that because it was so intense and because there was so much going on, because of the people you're dealing with, the day went so quick that you didn't even look at the time. I hated those jobs where, and I not only, before I even moved to Townsville, I was working at kebab shops, Chinese restaurants since I was 14. So I've worked since I was a young guy. I hate those jobs when you're looking at the time constantly thinking, when am I going to get out of here?
I think I've said this before on the podcast, but I reckon I've had one of the worst jobs for that ever in my entire life. Matt, have I mentioned this before? So when I was first married, between jobs, like everything was turning to crap. Yeah. So I had to go get some money. So Tony and I basically had our own company. That's my wife. We went over to the UK. We invested everything. Foot and mouth hit, destroyed all of our savings. Basically came back nearly bankrupt. Right. Had to start again. And Tony's mum got me a job at a factory that blew bottles for Coca-Cola. So I was in a production line. You had to have air plugs in. So you couldn't talk to the person next to you. You couldn't listen to music because there was a safety hazard. And the job was, and look, for people who can do it, some people love it, right? But my brain doesn't. Like, I need to do something with this, otherwise I'll go nuts. Anyway, so the bottles would come along. There'd be a line of 5 or 6 bottles. You'd pick them together. They would slightly stick. You'd pick them up and you turn around and you put them on a pallet. And then you go for the next one. And there'd be someone on the other end, right? They would take 5 or 6. And you'd load up a pallet, and you put a thing on, then someone would take it away. Now, they were 3 8-hour shifts, right? Now, there was a clock over where the TV is here, over to my left-hand side, and I wouldn't look at it, right? So the second day, and the first day was, okay, it was a bit tough. It was pretty good money. But, for what you're doing, back then. And I wouldn't look at the clock anyway, so I was like, okay, right. I reckon must be coming up to my first break, because I worked the afternoon shift. I think it was 2 till 10 or something like that. Coming up to my first break at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever it was. And I've gone, okay, you've got to be close. No, I'm not going to look. I'll give it another 5 minutes. And I looked up, and about 15 minutes had gone past. And I went, I can't do this. I'm going to go absolutely nuts. And I guess this comes back to what you're sort of saying. Is this the kind of thing where you looked at it and you went, is this my life? Is that what gave you the courage to decide to turn pro? It is. Yeah. And you thought you'd give it a crack. So were you making any money from FIFA at that time? I mean, what success had you had? Were you doing the eSports league? Were you doing any of that? So whilst I was still at Barbecues Galore, this is kind of where my pro career under FIFA just kicked off. At the time, it was FIFA 19. And it stems off, as I was saying, I was getting better from FIFA 17. I wanted to get to that eSport level by then, by the next year, which is FIFA 18. That was when the first E-League season came out. Right. Now, the E-League is basically the eSport league of the A-League, which the A-League is the football league here, the soccer league here. So it's equivalent to the NRL, the A-League. They called it the E-League, obviously, for eSports. And every A-League club, whether that be Brisbane Roar, Melbourne City, Melbourne Victory, the Newcastle Jets, whoever it was, had to pick 2 representatives as their eSport players. Right. To then compete in the National League. So is it so you're playing 2 on 2, or is it one in a reserve? So there was one for eSports and one for PS4 at the time. Okay, gotcha. Yep. Yeah. And what would basically with that competition, there would be an aggregate score. So the eSport player would play the other eSports player of the club they were versing. The PS4 player would play the PS4 player, and then the scores would combine. Okay.
And that 2018 it was, FIFA 18. I wanted to make it, man. Like, as I said, I made my mind up in FIFA 17. I'm like, I really want to make this. You know, eSports is something I want to pursue.
Yeah.
It's insane to, you know, think that you can play this professionally and it can be live streamed on TV with commentators and all this. I'm like, God damn, I want to make this.
Yeah.
I didn't make it in FIFA 18.
Right.
And I was a bit gutted.
Yeah.
But it gave me an opportunity to really work on getting better and really pursuing this.
Yeah.
So in FIFA, between FIFA 18 and FIFA 19 was when I really cracked on and started practicing a lot.
Yep.
Started watching a lot of tutorials on YouTube,
Yep.
which is funnily enough what I do now.
Yep.
Teaching people how to play and getting better at the game. FIFA 19 came around and Brisbane Roar were looking at selecting their next representatives. I didn't think they went too well in FIFA 18. They got like 8th.
Right.
Which wasn't.
And you have to use the players in the club, right, when you play?
No.
You
so
don't.
you can use the ultimate team, but
Yeah.
you have to use 2 Brisbane Roar players.
Right.
So, you know, if you're a Melbourne City representative,
Yeah.
you can use whatever players you want in the ultimate team, which
Yep.
can be Ronaldo, Messi,
Right,
whatever
okay.
it is.
Yep.
But you have to have at least 2.
And you wear their jumper, obviously. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. It's a branding exercise, effectively.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you wear their jersey.
So which of the Brisbane players do you use, by the way?
I think I used Jack Hingett,
Where does he play? What position?
right back.
Right.
And Brown, maybe? I can't remember.
Okay.
It might have been. I can't remember. His name.
I see the Sturridge is playing for Perth. Who probably
He
use
is
him, right?
one of my most favourite players ever.
Is that right?
Yeah, I actually really want to go and see him play.
Wow.
So
He's a great player. Didn't he play for England at
he
one
played
stage?
for Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I'm a Liverpool supporter.
Right.
So
Okay. So is my son.
I really like Sturridge.
Yeah.
Would love to see him play. He gets injured a lot though.
Yeah.
That's the only trouble. But yeah, that year, FIFA 19 came around. Brisbane Roar were looking for the next player. And at the time, for that month in Foot Champions, which was the ranking system back then. So Foot Champions is something where you play 40 games in a weekend league, which is a tournament that runs every weekend from, at the time, it was Saturday and Sunday. You had to play 40 games.
And each game takes you about 20 minutes, right?
15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of playing.
Yeah.
I think it was from Friday night to Sunday night.
Yeah. They've changed the format now.
They have
right?
changed it now.
Thank
It's only
God,
20
right?
games, thank
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
because it was
No life.
an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
No life on the weekend.
Yeah. Because it's not like you can go back to back, right? You need to refresh. You need to, especially if you had a bad loss, you need to calm down a little bit.
That's it.
Oh
Yep,
my gosh.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That month, though, the rankings were up for the Foot Champions tournaments for that month that they were selecting with Brisbane Roar, and I was second
Yep.
in Australia.
Yeah.
At the time, I had been signed by an eSport team, which was linked to them, and basically from there, I was able to, with my rankings, plus being associated with that team,
Yep.
to join Brisbane Roar. The Brisbane Roar signed me. That was my first season in the E-League.
And so could anybody try out for Brisbane if they lived in the States or lived in New South Wales, or did they have to be a Queenslander, or what was the deal?
At the time, they were more... Brisbane do like to keep it local.
Yep.
So they usually try and go within Queensland. At the time, I was in Townsville, which is 16 hours away. So they were still willing to pick anyone in Queensland as long as they were in Queensland.
Right.
Right, because Townsville's obviously north of Brisbane.
Yeah.
And that was my first tournament. Bit sceptical going into it. You know, there were a lot
What year was this? 2019?
2019.
Yep.
So that was the second season of the E-League.
Yeah.
It was on Fox Sports.
Yeah.
It was
Do you know what the viewership was like on that?
It was, I think, 100,000.
Wow.
So a lot.
That's great.
I think, actually, they got more viewership than the A-League Grand Final.
Holy cow.
Yes.
So that just shows you, hey, like the size and...
Of eSports.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And that was my first tournament going in. There wasn't much spotlight on myself, obviously, and I wouldn't expect there to be. I was new. It was more on the players who'd been in there previously and had won.
Yep.
Going in, I just thought, you know what, just play your game. Don't care if you win or lose. And that mentality is what you need.
Yeah.
You can't be going, I'm going to win or I'm going to lose.
Yeah.
You can't go in thinking either of those things. You need to go in clear-headed.
Yep.
Did so. Won my first match. And it was actually an exhibition match for the first round because EA Sports had mucked up that year, and they hadn't allowed us the Ultimate Team accounts yet. They hadn't unlocked them for some reason.
Right.
So we had to use Kickoff, and all the players were complaining about saying, this is ridiculous, it's not Ultimate Team, I don't like this, I'm not going to play for points if it's not properly done. I didn't care that much, to be honest. I was just happy to be in the E-League.
Excuses or results, right? Like, you just get on with it.
Yeah, that's it. But the first round didn't count. I still won the first round, exhibition match. I think it was against Jesse, which was Central Coast Mariners that year.
Yep.
Going into the second round, game on. First round, that was for points. I was coming up against Jazz, who at the time was, I think, number 1 in Australia. He had played overseas in Europe.
Wow.
Had drawn with the world number 1.
Wow.
Top player.
Was he Australian?
He is.
Wow.
Yes, and he was representing Western Sydney Wanderers at the time.
Yep.
And I beat him 6-1.
Wow. You smashed him.
Yep.
What happened? How did you beat him?
Yep.
Just on your game? Was he off? Was it just a perfect storm? Were you just that good?
I was just on my game.
Right.
I had gone in saying, whatever happens, happens. I'm here to play my game, stick to my, game style. And for those of you who don't know, and I'm not going to bore you with FIFA stuff, as you were saying, there's probably a few people.
We'll do the boring FIFA stuff in a little 20-minute sort of Easter egg or side thing or whatever we want to call it, right? Because, as I said, I've got some questions for you because I love it. And there's probably a lot of people who are listening to this have either come over from that FIFA one to learn more about you. But, for those that are not FIFA tragics or interested in video game, we'll do that on another one. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Anyway, throughout that tournament, I think I'd lost twice and I'd won the rest of my games.
Yeah.
So I did quite well. Ended up taking Brisbane Roar to second.
Wow. Well done.
Over that whole tournament. And we fell just below Melbourne Victory.
Right.
So that was my first year, first tournament. All of a sudden, people are realising, well, Aussie can play, he's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Then 2020.
By the way, was there any prize money in that?
Not that year.
No.
There was entry into the EA Sports Global Series. So if you had to come first, you got a ticket into the global tournament, which is in Europe, which is for big money.
Right.
$1 million prize.
How did the guy that won go over on that tournament? Do you know?
Not very good, I don't
know.
think.
Yeah. Did he have to use the Melbourne team?
No. This is just in EA. The E-League is connected to EA Sports, but it's not necessarily their style of.
Because it kind of wouldn't be fair if you had to use a couple of players. I mean, nothing against the Australian guys. I mean, but
they're not as good in the game, that's for sure.
No, that's right.
Yeah. 2020 came along, FIFA 20. I was determined again to make it for Brisbane Roar. Again, they were happy to sign me. Did quite well for the second year, for the first year.
Yep.
Going in, I remember the first day. There was 2. Now, the first season I played in, it was over 9 rounds over 9 weeks. So there's a lot of flying to Sydney. The second year,
you had to fly down to Sydney.
Yes, every round on Thursdays.
Jeez.
Yep. And it would be, you'd have makeup done, you'd have, it's all on TV.
Oh, well, we had that done here, Dylan, before we came in, hair and makeup. Yeah. I mean, I put it on Lippy, even if no one's here.
Yeah.
So, I don't mind it.
Second year, it was over 2 rounds, and they decided to, I think it was obviously to make it cheaper for them to run. 2 rounds, you played half of the group on the first day, and then a month later you played the second day, which is the other half of the group. I remember the first day turning up, and I need my glasses to play, otherwise it's blurry.
Yeah.
And the lights from the production, they blind me.
Wow.
Like, unreal.
Do you have the blue glasses?
No.
It's funny because Steve and I, we're going to do another podcast with you on the science of gaming, like reaction times, dopamine levels, serotonin, sleep patterns, biorhythms, all this sort of stuff. We're going to get right into the science of it on another podcast down the track. But one of the questions I was asking is, do those blue blocking glasses, that blue light, do they work? I mean, obviously you don't use them all. That was then. Do you use them now?
No, I don't use them now. I use my own prescribed glasses.
Right. Because you can get prescribed with the blue light filter, right?
I think so.
Anyway, well, you know what? When we do the podcast, we'll work out if it's worthwhile. Who knows? I might give you an extra 2%.
That's it. Yeah, Steve might know.
Steve will know. Yeah. He's really bummed he couldn't be in this podcast. He was kind of like champing at the bit, wanting to come in, but I said, no, we're going to save the science for another podcast.
Forgot my glasses that first day.
Oh my Lord! How bad is your vision? Like what strength are your glasses? Because these are a 1.5. I've just gone to like a 2.5. Like that's the baby step. Like is it the bottom one? Or is that the next one?
My vision's quite good. It's just when I'm looking at screens in an hour, my eyes will start, you did those eye boogers?
Yep.
They will start just tearing up and pus was like mucus was coming out of it.
Lord.
And like my eyes were dreadful.
Right.
I remember waking up the next day and my eyes were not opening.
Holy
That's
cow.
how bad it was.
Wow. Just the eye strain.
Yeah. Yep. First game, did really well. I come up against this guy called Honey Badger, who again was a global player. He played overseas in Europe. He was one of the best in Australia, one of the best in the world.
Wow.
Beat him 1-0.
Wow.
For my first game. And at the time, I was quite fresh. My eyes were good. I didn't need, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Then the second game came along, and I played Footwiz Marco, who was...
I've heard you mention him before in your podcast.
He won the E-League in 2019.
Right, yeah.
This was my second game. Going into it, again, I felt good, but I wasn't going to be too cocky. I wanted to play with a clear mind. It didn't matter if I won or lost.
Yep.
Went 1-0 up, but then collapsed, went 3-0, 3-1 down. And by then, my eyes were starting to go really bad. I couldn't see the screen. They were blurry. The production lights were stopping me from seeing the screen. And at the end of the day, I think I finished with 2 wins, a draw, and 2 losses.
It's not bad.
So it wasn't bad.
No.
It was a good first day, and it put us into 5th place.
Okay.
So I was at 5th place, moving into day 2.
Could you get your glasses?
Remember my glasses.
So did you leave them in the hotel?
I left them at home.
Oh, but you're in Sydney.
Yes.
So how did you get your glasses for the second day?
The second day was a month later.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Right, I'm thinking, bloody hell, did you fly back to Brisbane and get them and fly back again?
No.
Okay.
The second day was a month later, and went in, glasses, ready to, fire blazing, ready to go. Went undefeated that day.
Wow.
And took Brisbane to, again, 2nd place.
Second behind
Sydney FC.
Okay. At least it wasn't bloody Melbourne
Marco
again.
and Footwiz Jamie.
Right.
I was a bit gutted because I'm like, you know what? Second last year.
Second again
this year. If only I had have done better.
Well, as I like to say to my children, second is the first loser. I'm kidding. But and just as a side note, do you get on with these guys? Like, is there a good camaraderie, or is it I'm going to smash your face? You could probably beat them up, though. You're a lot bigger than them.
No,
yeah,
I don't
that's what he said,
that.
Marco. He said he's going to smash you. No. Next time he said no. But no, you get on well. Like, there's a camaraderie.
And honestly, I think the best thing about the E-League and actually, being a pro player is not playing the game at a live event. It's actually meeting the fellas again.
Yeah.
Because
it's
you put names to faces.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got a shared interest. And it's a real privilege, I'd imagine, to be able to play video game at that level, being represented and actually talking with other people in a like mind.
Absolutely.
As I said, I could carry your bags for you because I just want to come.
Maybe you could.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Give everyone some product.
Some yippee-yi-yi.
Yeah. So I think in terms of what happened from there? Obviously that's 2 defeats that could get on your mindset a little bit, or were you all right? Frustrated? What if? Was it a what if? Because again, if you had bought your glasses in the first game, you could have gone through.
Yep.
And won.
What it did do is put me in a good position going into the grand final, which was in Melbourne. So we're at 2nd place for the group stage.
Yep.
But then after the group stage, you go off individually, so you don't rely on your partner's score.
Yep.
You rely on yourself going into the finals. And wherever you placed personally on the leaderboard, so you had your team score, but then also you had your individual results as well.
Yeah.
They were calculated. And again, I was 2nd in the league. Mm-hmm. So I helped Brisbane. Ryan Naylor was my partner at the time as well. He and I took Brisbane to 2nd place as a group, and then also my individual record was, I think, 2nd in the E-League.
In your PlayStation, he was Xbox?
Yes.
Could you beat him? Did you ever play him?
I did play him this year.
Identical teams or different teams?
No, different teams.
Oh, so you're playing him now on foot?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you beat him?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Ryan Naylor. He's that guy that was in that episode where he beat me 4-0, and then the following 2 weeks I beat him 4-1.
Nice.
Yep.
That's
so
good.
He's a very good player. He actually recently got picked up by Melbourne City.
Right.
So he's representing Melbourne City. Basically, the individual scores were 2nd, so it would have placed me in a good position in the seeding, because it basically, I think if you're in the bottom 7, it's an elimination bracket, so you play off against players. But if you're in the top like 5 or something, you make it to the next round automatically in the quarterfinals or something like that.
Yep.
It would have placed me in a good position. Then COVID hit, and COVID basically, it called everything off. There was no grand final for the E-League season 3.
Why? Because I mean, you would think it's an online. Surely, if anybody could make that work, is because they couldn't set up the cameras to watch. I mean,
that's right.
Is that what it was?
Not really. I think there was like it wasn't. They sort of tried to do that, but it wasn't a full-on grand final. Like the results didn't like it wasn't. It was an exhibition more final than anything.
I mean, if there's any work from home that you can do, I mean, you would think the gaming would be right.
That's it. Yeah.
So anyway.
That was my last season as up until now.
And now?
It hasn't been officially announced, but I won't say too much. But,
okay.
Looking pretty good for season 4 of the E-League.
Awesome. Well, they'd be pretty mad considering
5.
second and you know.
Because last year I didn't get selected.
Right.
By anyone.
Why?
Don't know. They had the tournament online on COVID.
Yeah. And how did Brisbane finish?
Last. So
well, I think someone's nephew got a gig, right? Who knows? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But whoever the selector was, he needs to be fired. Whoever the new selector is, potentially, if you come out there, they can stay.
No comment.
No comment. I know, mate. And by the way,
No.
Brisbane Roar, if you're listening, I'm just E-League. I'm just joking. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So looking pretty good for this season, but
yeah, good.
That's been pretty much my professional career. I have always wanted to make an overseas event.
Yep.
I've always fallen just short, or I haven't been able to compete in the qualifiers.
Right.
And that was because I was working during uni,
Yep.
and or had uni on, or
Yeah.
something happened with something happened in life that just prevented me from trying to compete and qualify for the online tournaments.
So now you're a professional e-gamer. You've gone professional. How do you make money? And you don't need to tell us how much.
Yep.
Though I have got some interesting facts and figures on the gaming industry and how.
Yep.
I mean, and by the way, I said Powell. It's Power. Lachlan Power. He is Lachlan. He plays Fortnite and some other things. Matt, you know who he is, right? Yeah, he lives over in Japan. You know, how does he sleep at night? On piles of money with beautiful ladies, apparently, because when you're an e-gamer, especially in Asia as well too, like it's huge, right? I mean, it's huge everywhere now, but
Yes.
I mean, I think that was the sort of the cradle of it. But
Yep.
so, don't tell us how much
Yep.
you make, but like maybe sort of say, bracket it maybe, but
Yep.
like, how do you make money?
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, are you living on 2-minute noodles still?
No.
Okay.
What I will say is, it was initially a risk declining the job that I had offered in Townsville.
Yep. And can we say how much money that was going to be?
That was going to be probably about 70K a year.
Which is pretty good.
80K a year.
First year out of uni, not bad, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would have really set me up for where I was trying to go in Canberra.
Yep.
Because it was an intelligence position at the jail.
Yep.
And basically, that's a very interesting job. It's what I always wanted to do, intelligence, information.
Yeah.
Basically, you're going through, prisoners' phone calls, emails, trying to...
Sound like my wife.
They also... they also have...
She could do that job. She can also kill.
They also have... a lot of the prisoners will have code words and they'll have their own language.
Yep.
And they'll try and organise crime from within the jail outside.
Wow.
So sometimes they'll be still running their businesses.
Wow.
And the intelligence officer's job is to basically try and find that out.
Wow. That's
Read
cool.
their language.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
I've never been to prison.
And not only that, you're working with the bigger intelligence agencies. So there's information that there's going to be, let's say, a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
You're better off sharing that. You better share that. And, if you find something out like that, then you're going to, be sharing that information with your bigger intelligence agencies.
Well, it's not like you were digging ditches for a living, right?
No.
I mean, like that was exciting. It's something that you'd studied for.
Absolutely.
So it must have been,
Absolutely.
how long did it take you to make the decision?
To not go for the job?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. And I will shout the professor out. Basically, he's Dr. Mark.
He's in Townsville Uni?
He's in the Townsville Uni. He was a lecturer / mentor for me. He was there when I was, doing it tough in Townsville. There was a few things that went on. He was always there to support me, even financially. He always offered, even if I needed to. I never did, because I don't like taking money from people. But he was always there for me. He was a mentor.
Hang on, we're sponsoring you, so that's good news.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But this guy sounds like a really good guy.
Really, very religious guy. Very like,
I was going to ask you. I was going to say, there's not too many people that would give you money unless they've got a sort of a faith.
Yeah.
Sort of something that's bigger than themselves, which is why they care for humanity.
Yep. And he basically knew that's where I wanted to head. He got in contact with one of the intelligence officers, who I personally knew because I met him at a criminology conference at the uni one year. I think it was my second year into uni, and Dr. Mark knew where I wanted to go, knew my ambitions in the criminal justice system, and basically contacted this guy and said, look, he's interested, and that's when I was going to get the job.
Wow.
We had coffee together. I was very close to taking the job. I would have stayed in Townsville. That was another part of the decision, was the fact that I would have to stay in Townsville. All my family's down south,
right,
down in the Brisbane area, the Toowoomba area.
Yeah.
So it would have meant, again, establishing a life away from your family, which I could have done, but I think it's important to be near your family.
Yeah, I think so.
I missed a funeral. There's a few things I missed, so it is
with COVID.
Yeah. And I had a week or two to think about it. And then I contacted Dr. Mark and said, look, can we go for coffee? And I told him my ambitions the whole time. My ambitions throughout uni were to obviously be an intelligence officer. But I also had in the back of my mind that, what if I could make this YouTube thing work? What if I could, turn this into a career? And at that stage, YouTube was kicking off. I think I was at 15,000 followers on YouTube.
Yeah.
It was not the greatest, but it was getting there.
When was this? How long ago?
6 months.
6 months ago? You're at 15, now you're at 50.
50, 51, yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I saw your little plaque that you had there as well too.
Yeah, no, that's for, you get one when you're 100,000, but I edited it.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah. To make it look like you got a plaque.
Yeah.
I sat him down and I said, look, I told him my ambitions. He said, look, you should have just told me, because, I'm here to support you if you need, and, I've always been here for you, as you know. And it was at that point where I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm not taking the job. At the time I had left parole. There was only 2 or 3 months left in uni. And I decided to really grind the YouTube thing. Start putting out 1 to 2 videos a day. I knew that the new game was coming out, FIFA 22.
Yeah.
And I decided, you know what? I'm going to give this a crack. At the time, I was making enough to pay rent and probably live on 2 minute noodles.
And is that from money from YouTube?
From YouTube.
From ads, right?
That was my only income at the time.
Yep.
After leaving parole, was the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
So I also had good savings as well, so that I could live off if I needed to. I was willing to sacrifice that though. So basically pursued the YouTube thing in the final 2 or 3 months of uni. The new game was coming out, and I decided to start really uploading 1 or 2 videos a day, putting a lot of time into the editing.
Yeah. And I appreciate your clips. I love your clips because they're short. You get straight to the point.
Yeah.
I watch your stories now too. Obviously I'm invested into you because I like you, and I like your style. I like the way that you and you've got that point of difference as well too. Yeah. I watch some of the other guys as well too.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I mention who they are?
No, that's fine.
So because I don't want to give them any spotlight, but I like Krasi and I watch Mike LaBelle. These guys are funny. They've got a nice personality, completely different style, right?
Yep.
But you get an authentic sort of a feel about them, right? And you've got your own style, and I love the short, version of yours. You're straight to the point. You sort of talk about it. You don't overload too much information. So they're really, really great. My son watches them, as well too. So they're relatable to even the younger audience.
Yeah, and that's been adapted over time from feedback, but it's also been adapted, and I've had a sort of a strategy with this. The fact that I've realised TikTok has created a culture where people don't want to sit through 15, 20, 30-minute videos.
I do not know anything, and it's because of my age. I'm nearly 50. I don't know anything about TikTok other than if you're young and if you want to reach a certain audience, you need to be on there, which we've worked out. But yeah, I only watch YouTube because I'm old.
Yep. Absolutely. And what I can say is TikTok is 30-second long videos at max.
Right.
And what it's done is created a culture, in my opinion, that has basically, caused people to only value videos that are short and sweet and get to the point.
Yeah.
So that's been my strategy, is to keep them 3 minutes at the max, because most tutorials are 10 minutes to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I won't go too much into that, but a lot of people do that on purpose because you get more money from AdSense if you have a longer video at 10 minutes.
Really?
Yes.
I know nothing about that.
Yep. But
mind you, look at Joe Rogan.
Yes.
I mean, he's the king of podcasts, right?
Absolutely.
And like his podcasts go for like 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah. Podcasts are different. You can listen to them when you're driving.
True, absolutely.
You can listen to them when, you're cleaning the house or whatever.
Yeah.
Cooking. And that's, and they're getting quite big now, podcasts.
So in terms then of revenue, you're making money from YouTube.
Yes.
Do you... What sort of following do you have on TikTok? Do you make money out of TikTok?
No. So TikTok and Instagram are not don't have the ability to be monetized.
Right. It's more of a lead generation.
You get brand deals with them.
Right.
Yeah. And I am wanting to expand after that, and I have started doing that.
Yep.
I've got like 1,000 on each of the other platforms. So like TikTok, 1,000 followers at the moment, Instagram, all that. I've had obviously a lot going on that I haven't been able to always upload daily on that, but I always make sure on YouTube I upload daily. I upload every single day, at least one video, but if not, I try to get 2 out.
Yep.
More because that's monetized and you get money for doing that.
And how long does it take you to, because I appreciate it's 2.5, 3.5, 5 minute videos.
Yep.
How long does it take you to film them?
Yep.
Edit them and upload them? Like how long does that take?
Each video probably takes 2 to 3 hours to edit.
Yeah.
The filming I'll try and do on a single day.
Yep.
But getting the clips to implement into what I'm trying to teach takes time as well.
I can imagine. Yeah. Who do you play against to do that? Oh my gosh, there's so many questions I want to ask you in the other thing. But I'll ask you in this one. How do you actually do that? Do you have a friend that...
No. So I'll play, maybe it'll be on stream. And at the time, I might clip a clip that I'm like, you know what, I'm doing a tutorial on that. Let me just clip that and get that clip.
So it's just a friendly?
No. I'll go into like an actual, like an actual competitive mode where it's division rivals, foot champions, where I'm playing against good players.
You just seem to set it up all the time. I mean, obviously, I appreciate it. It sounds a lot more difficult than it looks. So.
Yeah. Well, I've just got to the point where I'm able to implement the things I'm trying to teach against good players. So it, number one, it shows that it works against good players. Number two, it makes it easier for me in the long run because I'm looking for clips to put into a tutorial. Then I've got them.
So you're making money through YouTube.
Yep.
And that's paying the rent and a little bit more, and obviously growing now.
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. That's really good.
It's growing. I do notice that it'll go up in spikes, then drop. At least I'm getting bare minimum 100 subscribers a day.
Well, what's really interesting, and by the way, for people that are listening to this, and I think the next one, I think we really target that towards the FIFA audience, which will probably maybe move the needle a little bit more for you. But if they want to follow you, what platform do you want them to follow, and where do they go?
You can follow me obviously on YouTube, AussieFifa HD, but also on
AussieFifa HD.
Yes, on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
And we'll get into this shortly, I'm guessing. But I also show my gym progress and all that sort of stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because it also is linked to a series that I'm doing on YouTube now, which we're going to delve into, which is the No Money Spent Road to an Event.
Which I love too. And again, this is really good for mums listening to this about, oh my gosh, my kid's getting into FIFA.
Yes.
He's going to be raiding my wallet and buying $120 worth of FIFA points every week, you know, and, maybe you get it for birthdays and for Christmases or something like that. But okay, so that's YouTube.
Yes.
And you're making money. And you're also now making money through coaching as well too.
Absolutely.
What do you mind if I ask, and please don't disclose any information, but do you make more money from coaching or more money from YouTube?
Coaching.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And do you coach a lot of players, and how much time do you spend with them? How does that work? Because we've got the same thing with fitness guys, right?
Yep.
Jared and all the rest of it, they do online coaching, and then there's in-person coaching as well.
Absolutely.
Obviously, almost all of yours would be online, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got clients from all over the world, US, UK, in the Middle East.
I see quite a lot of your comments coming from the Middle East, actually, when I look
absolutely. And I think it is because...
they're really generous with their comments, aren't they? Oh my gosh, you're so good, you've helped me so much, I've become a better player because of you.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
It is really good to see, and 99% of comments are positive, which is really cool to see. And I just, it doesn't bother me about the negative comments.
I was going to ask you about trolls, but we'll get into that maybe a bit later. But in terms of the, so you're making more money through your...
coaching.
And how many people do you coach?
I've got about 35 now.
How many people do you reckon you could coach?
Probably double, triple.
Okay. Yeah.
I would... Currently, I'm working about 12 hours a day. So it would probably push it up to, 13, 14 hours a day. But I've looked at capacity of how much I can do.
Yeah.
Double or triple the amount I'm doing now. And if it gets to the point where there's too many, I'm going to hire another coach.
Right.
So I'm going to get to the point where hopefully I'll need, another pro player that I can pay a good wage to coach for me and do players, coach players that basically, I can't get to.
Yeah.
But I'll always guarantee that they'll at least get half their sessions with me.
Yep.
And going back to what you were saying before, I just want to quickly delve into that is I think why I have a fair few followers from the Middle East is because I relate to them at a point where in my outro I always say salam.
Yes, I've heard that. So what is that? What?
It's like I think it's like
salam.
Peace.
Salam. Is that Israeli? Is that Jewish? Salam.
It's Arabic.
Arabic.
Yes. Which is another story, but yeah.
What do you mean?
Because as you know, I was trying to get into intelligence. And I was actually learning Arabic.
Okay.
I started learning Arabic.
Right.
I'm not fluent.
Yeah.
I know quite a few sayings and can start a small conversation.
So what's that word that you said? Salam.
Salam is like...
Salam. It's like shalom, which is that's Israeli for peace be with you, I think. Mm-hmm. It's funny, isn't it? There's obviously a commonality. Right. Yeah.
Same as Turkish. It's not the same, but it's sort of like some sayings are,
What's really funny is that from that part of the world, we've got actually one of our best distributors set up in the UAE. So they're just moving into Turkey.
Yeah.
They've got... So actually your audience that's over there can actually be purchasing ATP Science. That's actually really cool, because part of the reason why we wanted to sponsor you, obviously, is because your viewership is largely Australian, even though you are international, and we are an international company.
Absolutely,
we've got very strong distribution through the Middle East. Very strong, actually, probably the strongest outside of Australia and New Zealand.
Wow,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And with the coaching, I got about 35 clients. I started to pursue that around 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So it's going quite well. I put a video out that I was coaching. A lot of people jumped on it straight away.
Yeah.
And that is probably the avenue where I'm earning basically the most money.
How much time do you spend with them in a session, and how many times do you see them a week? Is it a sort of a... It
depends how many or what coaching package they purchase.
Yeah.
You can purchase up to 4 coaching sessions a month.
Yeah.
And then there's it goes down to anywhere like $20 a month, where you just get access to the coaching Discord and a monthly coaching class that I do every month.
Yeah.
But you go up into the one-on-one coachings with me online from like the silver package, which goes from goes from $20 to $250 as all the packages.
Yeah.
And then what will happen is they'll basically be invited to the Discord, which is a really cool community. It's quite knit in there. They're all helping each other, which is great. I don't always have to be there. If someone asks a question, a lot of people just are willing to say, this and that. But if people tag me and independently want to ask me, I'm always there to answer. If they have any concerns or something with the game. They'll book their session. We'll then do a one-on-one session over Discord, so I'll give them a call. I'll get them to share their screen with me. You can do that on the PlayStation, where you share the screen. I can then view their screen.
What happens if they're on Xbox?
I get them to stream on Twitch on a private account.
Right.
So then I can look at their screen and also record it through my desktop.
Right.
And I can, on PS, if they're on PS, they share the screen through the game.
Yep.
I can look at it, record it through my Elgato game catcher.
Yeah.
And then we go back over it. I basically show them what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right, how to improve, and then we'll do 2 or 3 games a session. So it's an hour or so session.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
you're busy through the middle of the day. That's when you're doing your videoing and all that sort of stuff, right? Because most of these people have got jobs.
Yep.
I mean, and your average client, they're doing this just to improve, to go from like Division 10 to 9, and then get up into that.
Absolutely. And the best thing about it is everyone's improved in the academy.
Awesome.
I really love to see that. There's no negative comments. They're all saying how. And the thing is, with how I teach, I make sure they have the basics down pat before getting into anything fancy. You see, a lot of other coaching, I've heard a lot of other coaching courses, what they'll do is they'll teach also what's broken in that game. So a broken mechanic that can be abused and shown, what's broken, but the thing is, that's not going to help someone over the long run.
If they patch it.
That's it. Right. If they patch it, and also the following year.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching people how to play from FIFA 22 to FIFA 50.
Yep.
Because the basics of what you need to get down pat before you can become, better at the game.
Yeah.
And that's why I think a lot of people like using my coaching, academy is because of that. I make sure I'm very strict with it too. I say, I don't want you to do a skill move.
Yeah.
I want you to not do a skill move. I want you to focus on dribbling into the space before you do anything else.
Sounds like me teaching my son who's under 7s and how to play football.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, forget the flashy stuff, right? Look at Messi. Yeah. I mean, he just dribbles, right?
That's it. That's it.
He only ever uses a skill move very, very seldomly, right?
That's it.
So,
and I will teach them the more complicated things, but I'll make sure they get the basic stuff down pat first.
Yeah.
And basically everyone's improved on there. It's really good to see. Before we also actually have the one-on-one session, each coaching session comes with a gameplay analysis. So what they can do is send me a game that they've played through the week. I take a look at it, give them a little bit of feedback on a document, send it through and say, work on this before we work on one-on-one. Mm-hmm. They'll try and work on that. If they're still having struggles, I'll show them how to remedy some of those issues.
Perfect.
So it's quite a good actual setup that I've got in terms of the coaching. And that's pretty much where I'm at with that. And then, of course, I'm working with you guys now, which is really cool.
Sponsored athlete.
Yep.
And again, it's a great fit for us because, one, I love FIFA. Two, actually, I love gaming always. And obviously very good. You're Australian. And again, for us, we try and promote local athletes. I mean, we do work with some international ones as well too.
Yep.
But also you're into the gym. And one of the things when we first started talking that you're really passionate about was that you want to be an advocate, really, to sort of help people become fit, not just eSports fit, but also be fit as well too, sort of be that example.
There's a few things I want to be advocates for. One thing I probably won't delve into yet, but the one thing that I am trying to advocate for is the fact that I'm trying to remove the stigma around eSports and gaming, that if you are to game professionally or even play it in general, you're unhealthy or you're overweight or you're, you don't have a life. Yep. You can have a life. You can be fit. You can be healthy. Yeah. And I'm trying to show that this actually increases your performance. It actually improves your performance.
It's really interesting, yeah.
And that's why I started this year, the series called The No Money Spent Road to an Event.
And the no money spent means that you haven't purchased in-game points and bought packs. That's it. Which is how some people do. I saw one guy spend $10,000 and bought every elite card. And again, I'm talking to the FIFA guys. They know, okay, Team of the Year cards and all that sort of stuff, right? But they bought every elite card that they possibly could, or icons or what have you, that he possibly could. $10,000. Right? Whereas you've spent no money. How Dylan has improved his squad and got better players is actually through receiving rewards. Because when you
playing well and winning,
and you get given packs of cards, and from those cards you can sell them and make money, and then go and buy cards, or you can even get good cards if they're untradeable.
Absolutely.
Right? And again, for people who aren't FIFA, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it just means that Dylan's everything that his team, and I've seen your team, it's a very good team, it's a high quality team, right? It has been earned through doing well by playing in FIFA.
That's it. So playing the game.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to show that you don't need to put money into the game to actually prevail. Yeah. And the other thing I'm trying to show is if you have a good diet, if you go to the gym, if you at least do some form of exercise, if you take a loss, take a break from the game, don't keep playing. If you break up how much you're playing through the day. As I said, I'm only playing probably 2 or 3 hours a day. I'm not playing that much. And I'm basically trying to remove that stigma in gaming, because I know it's quite strong, especially with parents and their young kids.
Yep.
I can understand, look, you know, if your kid's playing for hours and hours and hours, I can understand it's not the greatest for them. No. Like, it wouldn't be good for them. They, you know, it is good to get out and socialise and do things, right? But, you know, I'm trying to show that you can play the game, be healthy at the same time.
It's about balance,
whilst
right?
showing, yes, absolutely, whilst showing that fitness and healthy diet can improve your performance.
Well, we are going to do a podcast with Steve,
yes,
where we're really going to break down the science
of it. Yep.
We're going to break down nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to break down, dopamine and serotonin, like, you know, brain chemicals. We're going to break down how to increase your reaction time through using supplementation or using, focus. Steve is great, because I say, Steve, let's research this, and he just goes into it and just does a deep dive. You know, we'll pick up traits from some of the best gamers in the world, you know, the fastest reaction times.
Yep.
We'll break that all down so that people who are playing casually for fun,
yep,
like me,
yep,
or people who are wanting to become a bit more serious and make money out of it, like
yep,
yourself, will give you the full package on how to perform better as an esport athlete.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And I think a lot of people would also resonate in that and want to know that sort of stuff as well. Yeah.
I'm interested because I don't know. I mean, I'm talking about stuff from Henry Osiki going back to the 90s, where I was listening to this compound that actually increases hand-eye coordination, also increases reaction time. Because if you can react that split second faster, clarity of thought, get away from brain fog, all these sorts of things, as well as, you know, whether it be mindfulness techniques. Now, I know that word's overused. Some people say meditation, but, you know, whatever. But like in terms of clearing the mindset, removing emotions, how to deal with defeat and setback.
Absolutely.
So many things in the real world are the same on the digital world, right?
Yep.
So it's about becoming the perfect beast. But
absolutely,
as far as obviously, you know, that being a role model, I think that's a really noble thing, and that's what. Aspire to noble motives is one of, I think it's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill said, if you aspire to noble motives and you're authentic, in other words, you believe them, then you will be successful, because you're going to impact people's lives. Because,
absolutely.
You know, and that's obviously what you're doing.
Yep. And honestly, it's a really good reason why I went with you guys in terms of partnering with you, because, you know, natural products, things that are going to help with your performance in the game, but they're not high in sugars and all that sort of thing. They're not bad for you.
Yep.
I've always been that type of person where I love that natural type of stuff that's, you know, good for your body and stuff like that, can help you perform in whatever you're doing, whether it's fitness, whether it's sports, whether it's eSports.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I love the fact that I'm working with ATP.
Oh, thank you. And I think the thing for us as well too, like even on our pre-workouts, we use things like safranol, and as I keep saying, it's one of the most expensive compounds we've ever used, but it's actually from saffron rice. It actually comes from there, and it's a compound in there which is a really beautiful nootropic effect in it, right? And again, we always believe that let food be your medicine, medicine be your food. So everything that we look at is based on nature, and you can't hold back nature. You can't confine it. You can enhance it. You can work with it. There's ebbs and flows and all the rest of it. But as we say, putting on chemical straitjackets and doing things, you have the piper to pay. And whether it's now or whether it's down the track, and that's why this is why I love working with athletes. This is why we like working with people, is to enhance and take people forward and give them the things that they need to perform at their absolute best, right?
Absolutely.
But so outside of that, so we've covered off on the fact, how many times a week are you training at the gym at the moment?
5 or 6.
5 or 6, yeah. And how long do you sort of train for?
Oh, well, sometimes I try and keep it to minimum 2 hours.
Yep.
But sometimes up to 4 hours.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's
sometimes you might meet a mate at the gym and you have to talk for 10 to 15 minutes, so it takes a bit of your time away.
Oh, look, and there's a social aspect to it as well too.
Absolutely.
I mean, I love the Dorian Yateses, and like we're actually putting together a program at the moment based on scientific research that Steve, Elisma, Jared and the team are doing on the perfect nutrition exercise plan for the people who want to maximize their results for the shortest amount of time possible. Now, this is not going to suit your professional, trainers, but this is for the average person. I'd love to involve you and your community in it, because there's a lot of people where the barrier to entry for actually starting training is, one, not knowing what to do. The second thing is being limited in time. So if we can overcome overcome those two hurdles, then we can create a program which we're going to be launching in September, which is going to be able to help people to give them all the information, education, and support that they need to be able to make a change if they want it. So, and I think you could be a really great ambassador to help, obviously, reach into that community that may be looking at you and going, I want to be, I want to play like Dylan as far as my sports is concerned. But you've inspired me to get off my ass and get to the gym.
A lot of people have messaged me saying that.
Right.
And
it's a good thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And again, not just for their gaming, but for their health, for their physical well-being. I understand COVID's been hard on a lot of people, including myself as well too. Stress and not training and all the rest of it. And it's like, okay, guys, here's something that's simple that we can all do. So that'll be fun. That'll be really fun. Well, look, really interesting dive, Dylan, into what it's like to be an esport gamer. Obviously, really interesting history, really interesting story. I know a lot of people play video games. I know a lot of people are worried about their children or their husbands or their wives playing too much video games. So that's the end of this podcast. But what we're going to do, and again, you might have come there from, we're going to do a 15, 20-minute Jeff Ask Dylan FIFA questions. So if you're interested, we'll call that FIFA Q&A with Dylan. So have a look for that. If you're not interested in FIFA, then I'll let you take us out with your signature sign-off today, Dylan.
Well, thank you for having me, Jeff. And it's great to be on the podcast. Great to be working with ATP. It's been a work in progress, finally got there, and really looking forward to working with the team. If you're looking to learn the game, I do a lot of tutorials on YouTube under AussieFifa It's now actually rebranded. I've changed it to my name, /AussieFifaHD. So Dylan Baints is the name. On Instagram, you can also find me on Dylan Baints. So Dylan_Baints_AFHD. And if you're looking to get better at FIFA, I can always help you. You can join the academy if you like. I guess if not, you'll be seeing me on, if you're in Australia at least, or even in international. I know it gets quite a few international views. You'll be seeing me on the big screen for this E-League coming up this season.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. And Dylan, give us your signature sign-off because I love it.
Sayonara, au revoir, adios, salam, ciao, goodbye. Perfect.
Excellent.